make my sonar out 2 clicks, please?
There's the bottom.
You want it 2 clicks closer?
Please.
50 meters?
Perfect, thank you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's...
There we go.
Okay, can you change your heading to follow me?
Absolutely.
Pilot, I'm going to close your sonar in a little bit too, if you'd like.
Please.
Going to 30 meters.
Okay.
Did you just find a little mountain?
Pretty much. It's where HYPAC said it would be, a ridge top. Okay, so your altitude's 22. I'm standing off here. Just make sure we know where the current's coming from exactly. It's a bit off to my starboard side.
Yeah, it looks like, where are you drifting?
So the current's maybe due west here, swirling around this ridge. Yeah, the current's coming out of the west.
Okay.
So it looks
That
like,
makes
yeah,
sense, according to what we're seeing.
it's like a east-south direction.
Yeah. So maybe I'll get a toe in and face west while you do your white balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to come down a little now that we know?
Yes, yes, please. Get the delta like normal.
Yeah. Go down slow.
Nav, it looks like we're, this is watch, looks like we're shallower than our target depth.
That is correct. Looks like HYPAC, our map shows that we would normally be at 405 here, and we're at 373.
All right, I'm going to tilt my camera up a little.
Actually, Nav, can you move Sirius in about, what do you think, 15 meters?
Sure.
Get the tether a little looser?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, okay. Thought you meant sonar for a second.
Oh, no, I'm not actually serious.
Okay, so we're still in that,
Okay.
we're still in the
Sirius should be closer to get
target
some
depth
punch on the
range for
tether.
both the fisheries and the
Stay
precious
there.
corals.
Start your-
So do we want to,
yeah.
are we happy staying here, or do we want
And
to
then, we'll just keep an eye
reposition?
on the
So
Sirius cam.
that's really a question for the folks on the line.
Right.
Bridge RV nav.
Yeah, maybe just do
So,
10 meters.
Hey, we are on bottom, and I want to change the bailout plan from due east at 90 to 045 degrees.
All right, neighborhood
Yeah,
HPU.
yeah. Yep.
Ramping up.
Okay,
copy.
so Chris and other members of our land-based
Outback.
science
Take
team,
that moving.
we are shallower.
move?
Make sure I'm on here.
No,
Oh, no, make
Stand
it
by.
10 meters, not 15.
I'm not moving anything. I just set a new bailout plan.
Oh, yeah, we had said, can you please move the ship
Oh yeah,
15 meters?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Where do you want it? 15
Do like
meters where?
10 at 225.
225.
Yeah. Thank you.
0.2
Alright.
knots, okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just want to get some more slack in the
So I'm
tether.
just gonna
Bridge RV nav.
Okay.
see what I want.
Okay, so Chris,
Hey, we're ready for a ship move. That's 15 meters,
that's actually
225 degrees, 0.2 knots.
okay, so Chris, are you happy starting at this depth?
Good copy.
Chris, are you happy starting at this depth?
Shirley, you're breaking up a lot. I can only hear one of every 5 words.
Okay, we will type it into the event log, the situation.
Thanks.
All right, craft is up.
Okay.
Looks like you're drifting, pilot.
Yeah. All right, hold on.
Yeah, I'll just.
It's okay. I think maybe the drag changed a little.
Yeah,
So I'm,
not the best hold either. It's kind of a awkward,
yeah, facing the
Spot.
current,
but you're doing
okay.
it. Yeah.
That's better.
Okay, so let's see, let me talk to Nav here.
What our pilots are telling us is that we've landed
So,
in
yeah,
the
that was even
position
harder than
that
yesterday.
was given
Yeah.
to us for the start of the dive,
long
but
to
where
go.
we are sitting, if you look at the Sirius view,
iPad really
is
helped
on
a lot.
a local
like it was a lot
mound
smoother than yesterday,
along the ridge.
Yeah.
So this this looks
Tried it
like it's
yesterday,
about.
we talked about it.
Shucks, can't really tell how high it is, but we are
can I take
discussing
your,
repositioning a bit.
data
So
check?
if you'll hold on a little.
Yeah. Nav, land-based science says that they're happy with this depth and we don't need to reposition to get any deeper.
Copy that.
I'm gonna adjust some lights real quick.
Okay.
Let's see, port is going right.
Pilot, this is watch lead. Just let us know when you're ready to
So now
proceed.
it's
Thank you.
going left.
Copy that. Will probably be another 5 minutes or so.
Okay, so what's happening now is we're getting in position. We're going to color balance the camera so we continue to get the most outstanding video imagery that we're used to getting. And in the meantime, we can just, there have already been some comments coming in about what we're seeing.
So Nav, if you look at Sirius sonar, I guess there's a little ridge off to starboard.
Yeah, looks like it.
So I guess we're maybe Sirius is slightly south. Well, that actually matches. Sirius is slightly south. But there is also some pretty big terrain straight ahead of Sirius, so we can probably just move this way.
It looks like there's something
Okay.
between you and Sirius.
And science participants on shore, if you're having
Oh, yeah,
trouble
Sirius is
hearing
right there.
us,
I think
the
this
audio
this ridge, I guess.
on
Yeah,
the
Just like that. Goes up and
on the
down.
video is clear, so you can listen there.
I need to bring it in just a little bit closer to the camera.
So for folks who are listening online on shore, hello
whiteboard
from the Okeanos Explorer, and we are positioned just north of the island of Pagan in the Mariana Island arc of the Western Pacific. Right now you're seeing on the screen a little test block
Color
that
chip
the pilots are using to maximize the video for us for the dive. And as you can tell, it's really high definition, which is fabulous. We're having
Yeah, video, can you come out a little
we
bit so I
are
can...
hearing
Yes,
an
great, thank
announcement
you.
in the background, which you may be picking up. I shall wait a sec. Okay. Pagan Island is particularly interesting. It has a nickname, and that nickname is the Lighthouse of the Pacific. That's because it erupts a lot. It's an active volcano. It has a major peak, really tall cone on the north side of the island. The south side of the island, it's kind of shaped like a peanut, and the southern end of the
Hey, Will, do you wanna
peanut
try this
is
now?
an
Yeah, a little
older
closer.
volcanic
See a shadow
center that
on
has
the left
active
side of the chart.
fumaroles, and what that
Yeah,
means is they are
try some lights.
vents that are, just steaming a little bit, and the northern part of the
Ports.
island has a very large cone that erupted explosively in 1981 and shot a huge volume of ash out to the north. This ash covered most of the flanks of the volcano as the eruption continued. There were a series of eruptions between 1981 and 1985, and a lot of maybe grape-sized and smaller particles of lava fell around the flanks of the volcano. And as you may know, this part of the world gets lots and lots of typhoons, lots of rain, and apparently there was quite a lot of rain during the initial eruption, and there were a couple of really big typhoons that went through the northern Marianas. of which Pagan is a part. It's a part of the administration is through the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, and
pilots, if we can take
until
notes,
1981 there was a
back on
population
deck,
of people that lived and farmed and
check that chart,
had
that
a
is just
variety of
debris that's on it on the
animals,
right-hand side.
cows and
We may need to replace it
goats
if
and
it's
things,
scratched up.
and those didn't fare too well. What happened in 1981,
Much
though,
more
when
level
when
now.
the eruption
How's that look,
was
Lola?
starting up, there were a lot of earthquakes,
Also, I noted
and
there
there was a
serious amount of
person
water. It did
in the
look like
town
winds had
that
been
had
pulled.
saw
had
that.
radio
Water
contact with
Yeah.
Saipan,
I
and
can
they
work
were
with this.
keeping Saipan
Okay.
abreast of what was going on the island.
Okay, capping the camera, checking the
So when the volcano erupted its cataclysmic eruption, people from the town got together, went a little bit southeast to the coast of the island, and on the western side of the island, actually, there is a sea cave. So people took shelter in the sea cave from the ash and the fragments of lava that were falling around the town they were living in. And then they got picked up by a passing freighter, so they were all safe. Everybody got to Saipan, but the animals didn't go. So shortly afterward, I had the amazing opportunity with my advisor, Donald Hussong, to go to this island with two guys from the National Geographic. And we flew in a little plane from Guam up to Pagan. And this is done by some of the folks on Guam or in Saipan. They'll fly up and go fishing for a day and then fly back. Well, as you can imagine, the National Geographic guys wanted to get a lot of video. So they took all this equipment, plunked it into this relatively small plane. There was a landing strip on the island. It was covered when we got there a little bit by ash. But before we landed, they wanted to do a series of flights around the volcanic cone. And it is pretty spectacular. A lot of the crew this morning were out there looking, wow, hey, it's great to wake up to a site like this. It's gorgeous.
With a volcano.
With a volcano.
A cone.
And it's a really nice looking cone, too. It's nice and symmetrical. Even though it had this big blast, just like Mount St. Helens did in Oregon. And so back to the National Geographic story. The guys flew around the island several times, taking beautiful pictures. That was great. So we landed, and there wasn't enough fuel to get back home. So we spent the night. Right after the eruption occurred, we got there a few months later, of course, there was a lot of ash deposited on the flanks of the volcano, and there had been a lot of rain. So you mix ash with rain, and you get what's called a lahar, and all that is a big mud flow of ash and water that flows down the flanks of the volcano. So when we arrived, and we were walking through the town, the layer of this lahar deposit material was about 3 feet deep. So we would approach the school, for instance, and walk through, and you could see in some parts of the interior, you could still see the tops of the school desks. You couldn't see the seats. Okay, so we found the picnic table that folks had down by the beach. So some of the guys slept on the ash, and I slept on the top of the picnic table. And, you know, I'm the geology lead, and I really like rocks, so I had some paper towels that we had brought along, and I sort of spread them out on the picnic table and was catching the fresh ash as it fell on us overnight, so I could take it home and analyze it. That was great. What an experience. So the next morning, the relief plane arrived, and instead of having packed a whole bunch of camera gear and stuff like the National Geographic guys did, they had packed extra gasoline, or fuel, I should say, for the plane. So everybody got their fuel tanks filled up, and we did manage to survive it all. But what an experience, you know?
Okay, that should be okay.
It was really fun.
Very nice. Let me know when you want to
love
do that
that
again. I'll go with
description.
you.
That's great,
That's
Patty.
nice.
Thank you. So what we're seeing here as we're getting in position, and I think it's already been noted by our land-based scientists, we've got at least a couple different species of what is likely encrusting sponges, but I probably like to take a closer look to make sure they're not ascidians, because a lot of times some of these encrusting sponges these incrustations might be sponges, or they may be a certain kind of ascidian or tunicate. And I believe someone already noted in our event log those spherical, white spherical things. Those are sponges, and they're of the genus Geodia. And I mentioned this yesterday, but that name is derived from what happens when you slice open one of these sponges. You can look at it, and it looks just like a geode on the inside. So
no crystals, though.
no crystals. Well, silica spicules.
Yeah, okay.
So you got to be real careful
All
about
right
that.
there.
Finish with that if we can
Wow.
recenter
Okay, as we get closer to this thing,
That craft is pretty good.
from the geology
craft.
point of view, we're sitting kind of on a mound that's on top of a ridge that we're going to be traversing. And to me, I'm hoping as we get a little bit closer, once we get some the ability to do some zooms on this, I'm wondering if these are undersea lava pillows that we're looking at. They're a little bit blocky to look like traditional lava pillows. Lava pillows form when hot lava oozes out onto the surface of the seafloor, and because the water is so cold, it actually instantaneously, or real close to it, freezes the hot magma and therefore turns it into essentially a glass that is surrounding the bulb. Pillow lava creates long tubes of this sort of bulbous lava, like as if you were squeezing a toothpaste tube, and you know the stuff that comes out.
Okay. Let me hold on a second. Pilot. Yep. Go ahead, pilot.
We're getting some messages from our pilot.
Thanks very much, pilot.
We'd like to have our front row introduce ourselves. So starting from the navigation screen, if folks are looking at us, that's to our left. And our navigator is?
Well, I'm Andy Lister, and I am with Global Foundation for Ocean Exploration.
And this is Sean Kennison, sitting co-pilot, also for Global Foundation for Ocean Exploration.
And this is Roland Bryan in the far corner, which you typically don't see, but I'll let you see a silhouette. I'm also working for the Global Foundation for Ocean Exploration.
Tara, are you linked in?
And this is Tara Smithy, video technician, also Global Foundation for Ocean Exploration.
So as you can tell from the introductions, we have a number of different partners.
Yes.
NOAA partners and partners from other institutions, other universities, and that's rounded out by our shore-based science team as well. Again, represent a number of different organizations, countries, states, and so on.
And introducing your watch leads, I am Patty Fryer. I'm a marine geology professor from the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and that's on the island of Oahu in Hawaii.
And I'm Shirley Pomponi. I'm a research professor at Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute, Florida Atlantic University, and also the head of a NOAA Cooperative Institute for Ocean Exploration,
so that's pretty
Research,
centered
and
on
Technology.
Sirius,
I'm a
I think.
biologist by training, and my specialty
about
is sponges.
50
For those
on
of you who
camera.
weren't tuned in yesterday,
Delta
you'll
about
find out really
11.
quickly how excited I get about sponges. Casey? Oh, she doesn't have. Okay, so Casey doesn't have her headset on, but Casey Cantwell is from NOAA. She
Did
is
you check,
our
hydraulics?
expedition
Expedition
coordinator
coordinator.
and tries to get everything. She's
Yeah.
like the orchestra leader, trying to get it all put together.
And she has a whip, keeping us in line.
And the crew will be at their stations until about noon, and then they'll have a crew change out.
Yeah,
Patty and I
ramping up.
are here for the duration.
We are? Except
Okay.
we will leave for lunch. So,
We'll leave
you
for
know.
lunch. Okay.
We're
Gotta
closed.
eat. This is so exciting. It burns a lot of energy.
Right. Sailing valve pack.
I
Landing
am
on
pretty
HQ,
sure,
sailing
by the
HQ.
way, I am a rock person and love volcanoes of a variety of different kinds. And we are looking at one that has been spewing lava for, like I said, this is the lighthouse of the Pacific. So I'm guessing this large mound that we're approaching
Sirius looks like it's kind of
is
facing the right direction
probably
now.
what,
about 240.
or at least
Yeah.
How's
part
that
of
agree with high pack?
what people
I mean, it's
call
pretty right on.
Alright.
a flank
As far
eruptive
as-
site.
as,
That's possible.
ridge,
But
not
this is
depth,
a
of course.
ridge,
Yeah.
so it also may be, because when we're looking at the map straight down, this is
Pilot
on
would
the,
like to zoom in on the encrusting sponges, please.
we are on the north side of the volcano, and that is the side that had the catastrophic eruptive event.
So we'd like to see the white stuff and the pink stuff, please.
And now we're going to get to look at the biology, which I know nothing about.
Oh, but learning quickly.
Hey, you're right.
Learning quickly.
I got some of the names. But I am wondering, Shirley, you mentioned a whole bunch of names of the different corals, like the white coral
Sponges.
that we saw. Excuse me, sponges. See, there we go. Already messing up.
Sorry, they're both animals.
But you said there were a bunch of other things here, and those names have to mean something. What do they mean?
50%.
Well,
Okay.
it just depends on
Could be worse.
the person who named it. Sometimes the names are after the geographic
not coming up.
location
Yeah.
where the sample was collected. Sometimes they're named after the person who collected it. Sometimes the scientific names mean something about the morphology or the color of the organism, regardless of what it is, whether it's a sponge or anything else. Okay, so we're zooming in now.
Yeehaw.
So those of you who participated yesterday.
Wow, this is different
is
from yesterday.
very, very
Oh, wow,
different.
that's
Okay,
really cool.
so do we want to make some different discussion about what we're seeing right here?
Maxine, if you want to continue to sort of
Anybody
rotate
seen
left,
this kind of
then
stuff
move to the
before?
right.
This is an encrusting
It's not a sponge.
creature
It's not a sponge.
with pokey things sticking out of it.
It does.
Look, I've never seen a coral that
Okay, so
encrusts like
might
that.
be. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, and there's pink ones and white ones.
Yeah, we know pink one might be something different, but we can look and see.
Wow.
But really, really cool. Just as a note,
kinda floating
it is
off.
Holy
it is
smoke.
nearly impossible to collect something like this. Encrusting organisms are tough to collect to begin with. And, I mean, even if you're scuba diving and you have a little knife and you want to scrape them off. But imagine how it would be to take the manipulator arm, it's like, kind of like that jaw, and try and break off some pieces in current. So not to worry, pilot, we are not going to ask you to collect these, but we would like to get some good close-up video of them that might help our coral taxonomists to come to some decision about what this might be.
And also, are these corals or zoanthids?
A good question. Scott seemed to think they were a stoloniferous octocoral.
What does stoloniferous mean?
Well, think about stolons and plants and how you have that runner, and so these are encrusting. They're all connected to each other, much like corals would
We
be.
need to tilt
But
down to get one of the close species to really be able to identify it. So as close to the vehicle as we can.
so what happens here is that the
That
pilot
right there is
repositions and then gets steady and stable so that our videographer can go in and get some amazing close-up imagery. And it looks like both the white encrusting
And the pink.
coral
They
and
look
the
so similar.
They do look very similar.
Now, do you think they're both alive? I mean, I certainly see.
Yes, they're
What?
alive. They're alive, and you can see the
Wow.
polyps. You can see
Yep,
the
you can.
the
You
little
can see the
tentacles.
tentacles moving in
Right.
the current, and the current looks like it's pretty strong here.
So these are corals that don't produce an internal skeleton. They're using that substrate upon which they are attached for for their strength, basically, for
Looks like
their
your current might be
integrity.
shifting slightly south.
Wow,
According
I
to
have
ADCP.
never seen anything like this
To
before.
the-
That's the beauty of
Okay.
doing this job, In
So
marine geology,
the south.
if you get a chance to go to the bottom of the ocean, you're going to see
From
something
the south.
that nobody's ever seen before. And every time I've been in a submersible or used a remotely operated vehicle, and you get close
Yes,
to the
and
bottom,
it's
and you're
still
going,
showing that
"Oh
it's
man, I
from
think I
the
see something
west.
down there." Whoa! In sight,
But it
you
is
go.
slowing
That's
down that way and
that's the
instead
bottom.
moving
And
to
very
the south.
often, you find something
Okay.
that no one has ever seen before.
No, I think it's from the north.
That's right. Boy, those things are really tiny.
But it's still right at zero.
Pilot, I'm wondering
Yeah.
if we could have the lasers on for just a sec so we could see how big these are. We need something for scale.
All right, lasers coming on.
Okay, folks, those two little red dots you
Ooh,
see on the
nice
bottom
and centered.
are 10 centimeters or about 4 inches apart. So that'll give you a sense of scale for the features that we're looking at. Thank you, Pilot.
Do you
Thank
want me to
you,
leave this
Pilot,
on?
very
The
much.
super white patch up and to the right of lasers.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's shifting that way.
Scott, do you have an idea of what genera or genus
We're in
these two stoloniferous octocorals might
about
be?
to be max ebb.
There's also a white blob at the bottom right corner. It looks like it might be a sponge or a different type of coral. Left of lasers looks like a potential cup coral. Now above lasers. Yep. Now if it's just a hold
So
fast.
Shirley, there's also another type of stoloniferous octocoral that's in
The yellow
between
stuff.
these white and pink ones. It's yellow and has more of the plastic sort of thread-like connections between the polyps.
Sit down. Okay.
Partial.
And so, unfortunately, just like with identifying sponges, you need a small bit of the sample to get it down, sometimes even to order. These stoloniferous octocorals are also very difficult to identify. Okay, we are looking
Is
at a
the yellow
yellow
stuff? Yeah.
incrustation, but that yellow looked to me more like sponge than octocoral, but I actually was distracted by looking at the instant replay right next to me.
No, there's more of the yellow down in the bottom of the frame
Yeah, now
at
that
the moment.
might be, that also might be octocoral. It looked like it was a little bit different than the one up at the top.
Holy smokes, this is amazing.
Yeah, pilot, could we just zoom in one more time and try and get good imagery of one of the extended polyps, because that might help our science team to identify it a little bit more than just stoloniferous octocoral. Thank you.
We're getting typed in messages, I should say, from folks on shore, and Sako Matsumoto suggests that the yellow incrustation that we're looking at doesn't look like an octocoral to her.
We are getting hit from behind us with the current, because I think Sirius might be slowly.
We have scientists on shore
closer.
from all over the world.
Nothing to be alarmed by, though.
Japan, Russia, Hawaii,
And then it come up a couple meters, though.
parts of Europe on occasion, and we are so grateful to them for helping us identify things.
Let's get it closer.
So we're repositioning a bit, to be able to get into a position where we can zoom in. The currents are pretty strong for today's dive.
Yep.
And I wonder what that big bulbous thing is in the upper right.
That's a sponge.
So how come, Shirley, just because you're out here and you're the sponge specialist, practically everything we've seen on this dive even so far, and all day yesterday, the dominant species was sponges.
Yep, but there were a lot of other
I think you
things as
planned
well.
this.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually they'll want to look at probably the sponge above us. Once we get this stuff. I believe we can get it from this thing.
So that sponge in the upper right is another demo sponge. I can't tell from here if it's another Geodia, but it's in that same order of sponges. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
What a beautiful view.
Okay, so...
Oh, man, there are little
yeah,
crinoids over there on the left.
The tentacles in these polyps
That's
are really
coral, right?
transparent, so it's quite difficult.
Yeah.
Are those are corals too? These guys, or are they crinoids? They look like that's a polyp. Wow.
Okay, Scott, are you seeing enough of the polyps now to help you at least note down some of the characteristics to make it
for the event log?
Yeah, for the event log. I know you're not an expert on these stoloniferous forms.
Now your current looks like it's steadily out.
And there the pink. Okay, that's great. Let's go ahead and zoom. Beautiful.
Good job.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Now, is the white stuff the base of that, or is that enclosing the polyps? Is it below the polyps, or is it kind of just
what
goo
stuff?
that has?
I mean, just it's part of the tissue of this of the coral, and you can see on the bottom
that's amazing.
An image of a yellow octocoral as well. And the pilot's making this look really easy. He is really, using a lot of thruster power to stay stable. It's very strong currents. Okay, so we've got the pink form, the yellow form, and the white form. The yellow form looks a lot, just from its morphology, looks different from the pink and white forms.
It does indeed. And there are lots of those little white, what do we call those little worm tubes, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Tube worms. So not like the big kind that you see on black smoke or hydrothermal vents.
Video's clear with
But
this.
we also have a little
Slow pull.
hermit crab.
Yep, hermit crab right in the
inside
middle.
of a beautiful shell. Wow.
Let's hold this shot for a little bit.
I'm just amazed by this image. I'm blown away. This is just phenomenal. And I'm a rock person. I like the rocks too, but the critters, whoa.
Exactly.
And pulling out full wide.
Okay, so we're getting some good imagery now.
If you want to tilt up, we can look at the
If
sponge off
people
screen.
can tear their eyes away from this wonderful forest of sponges
Yep.
and
Okay,
corals,
yep.
you can
And-
take a
Yeah,
look at the
whichever two of
serious
those
view
is
that
your
shows
favorite.
you the
Actually, from that
terrain on
vantage,
which these
single
animals
those
have
Watch lead to
perched
pilot.
themselves.
So once you're done with these encrusting organisms, if we can go ahead and get close-up imagery of the other, looks like we have some branching, gosh, I hate, some branching organisms, not sure if they're corals or sponges, and also those larger spherical sponges. We're not going to want to collect any of those, but just take a look, get a closer look.
What is... Okay, we're backing out. I'll ask again later. I shall ask again later.
So these massive sponges, the ones that are spherical or cake-shaped, we've got probably the two sponges that will shortly be at the top of your screen are most likely the same species, but they're different from the spherical sponges that we saw a few minutes ago.
So you think that this one that is right at the tippy top of the screen is the same as the one over to the right?
Over to the right, yeah, but different from the, yep. Oh, wow, that's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. So you can see it looks kind of fuzzy.
Down the lower left side of this.
And, oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Now, those are the spicules, is that correct?
Yeah, so these sponges have these spicule brushes that and makes the surface look kind of velvety. We call that hispid.
Hispid?
Yeah,
Hispid.
hispid. H-I-S-P-I-D. Hispid.
In the world of geology and biology, there are weird terms.
Yes,
for
jargon.
things.
Jargon.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
That's
I know
really,
how that
really
happens.
nice.
It happens late at night when you're totally exhausted and you think of silly names for things. There is a hermit crab in a little red snail shell right in the top of this sponge.
There, it looks like there may also be zoanthids encrusting on the top of the sponge.
Is that the little dark things?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Zoanthids.
Okay, pilot, this is fantastic. Thanks. Roger that. Done with the sponge.
Let's get a full specimen before we pull off.
Yeah, so they we had a question, about this tissue differentiation, and so for sponges are really at the cellular level of organization. They don't have true tissues as we think about that, but they're definitely organized in different regions. So, and they might have microscopic skeletal elements that differ depending on where in the sponge they're located, and that's what helps us to identify these sponges. But this imagery that we just got is also extremely valuable because we can see how those openings, or the oscules, and the smaller ones are called ostia, are arranged on the sponge, and that also helps us to diagnose, to identify it.
If it's coming from
Okay,
the,
so
north
going on?
Yeah,
and
we're
it's
going to
hitting us,
move
maybe
on
we're
to that
some
next
kind of weird
spherical
stagnation point is just coming out
sponge as well.
or something.
So we had a question about whether or not this particular sponge in our video screen right now is a geodia, and I don't think so. I think, Chris, that it's related to geodias, but I don't think it is a geodia. I think it's another astrophorid sponge, demo sponge, but not a geodia. but we'll definitely send some images to my colleague, Paco Cardenas, who specializes in this group of sponges, in the geodias and also in ones that you're pretty familiar with, Chris, the pacostrelids. And Paco will probably be able to give us some more insights about the names of these sponges.
This is totally amazing.
You might be in those vortexes that.
So there's a fairly steep or strong current that's wanting to push D2
right
along.
Now it's showing a current from the southwest. So it just changed again on us. Yes. That's what we planned on originally, but it shifted and now it shifted back.
See an urchin off the right side of the sponge, below the rocks.
You know what, Shirley?
What, Patty?
I have an idea.
Okay.
And over on the right-hand side of the screen, after we're finished looking at this beautiful
Don't tell me you want to look at rocks.
I would like to look at a rock.
Okay.
And
sounds good.
partly now, because I suspect that the encrustations might be collectible if they're on a rock. What do you think?
We'll take a look at that. Okay, what is that?
Yeah, there's a little
attached
thing on the right-hand side of what we're seeing in the big screen. The right hand. There we go. Wow, look at that. Little teeny colony.
All right, lasers are coming on.
How cute.
Background, we see a squat
Aren't they
lobster.
adorable?
They are adorable. They are just
Going
adorable.
back to the zodiac.
Oh, and there's a red thing on the seafloor right next to it. I don't know what
It's like
that
a
is.
crab.
Is it a
Maybe
crab?
a crab.
Squat lobster?
Maybe.
Or a shrimp?
you
No,
wanna
it's not a shrimp.
Go full screen with this critter.
Yes.
Shore team, would you like to look at after we do the other sponge, would you like to look at those branches that were in the distance?
Well, that would get us a little bit on our way, which might be good.
Maxine.
However, if you remember,
Yes, we talked about the rock. I have not forgotten.
before we move on
I
to the
have
things
not
in the
forgotten.
distance, we might be able to get some encrusting corals.
Okay, pilot, we're good with this particular sponge. If we can find the other sphere, one that looks more like a bowling ball. I think there was one close by. Maybe could be. There was one at like maybe below the 4 or 5 o'clock position on the screen. Yes, the screen right now.
Is that what you were looking at? In the bottom of the screen?
No, it would be over to the right. You might need to zoom out a little. Well, I don't know if you can zoom out or not.
Is it the thing in the distance that you were looking at?
Roger that.
Well, I'm learning a lot about corals and sponges throughout these 2 legs of ROV diving in the Marianas.
Yeah.
And they all seem to like the high points.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's where the currents.
Don't we all?
Everybody wants to get to the top of the mountain.
Washing machine spot.
We have these little invasive species of bird in Hawaii, particularly on the island of Oahu. They are called red-vented bulbuls.
Yeah.
They're quite an aggressive little
Serious
bird.
cam,
And
Almost
I
looks like it's coming from the
find them
west.
always, palm trees come out with a spike first that
But then,
sticks up above
yeah.
the fronds. And that's where those birds like to sit. And they like to look as though they're the lords of their territory. But it's not the same thing here. These animals are encrusting the high points because that's where they get most of the plankton.
Yeah, pilot. No, I don't see any of the ones that were these kind of spherical. But I'll point one out to you when we see one again. You want to collect a rock?
Mm-hmm.
Can we go down up at about the 2 o'clock position on your screen right now, over to the right, and see if there are any loose rocks that can be collected, please?
Would be good to try.
Remember, these are
It would
not
be good to
sponges.
try at the base of that little mound that we were just looking at. So
Yeah.
just
I don't know if there's gonna be
to the left of, maybe better to the right of the one that looks kind of yellowish. And of course, it would be really good if it was a rock that had a little bit of encrusting coral.
That would be good, pilot.
Yeah, any rock that's loose here would probably have the stuff on it.
Yes. So, what exactly are we looking for? My ears were elsewhere for a moment. Oh, okay.
It looks like one right below the lasers there, huh?
Yeah, looks
Yeah.
like there might be a small
Yeah.
pile. I think, yeah, anything in there might do good. Yeah, but I have you at 70 in my cam, but a
So
little bit,
here
but
we
did
are
delta,
heading in for maybe
and
picking
it's
up
not
a rock
fast
sample.
approach at all.
On these dives,
I think it's
we
been 5
pick
meters
up,
since we've been on bottom,
we don't
but
pick up a lot of material. We
just a
pick
heads
up 2 rocks and 2 biological samples. The rocks will give us an idea of the nature of the magmatic composition
I'm
of
not sure.
the lavas that erupt in these volcanoes. So we will want to be able to get a fairly large piece, because these samples will be shared with anybody who requests them for sampling. Petrologists, that is a person who studies rocks, will cut into the rock and take a thin sliver of the material that's about the size of your thumb or so, and glue one side to a small piece of glass, a glass plate, and then use a grinding machine to thin it, to grind it down to 30 microns, so very, very thin, so that we can basically hold it up and you can see through it, and then put it through a microscope and you can tell what minerals are present there based on how the minerals refract light through their crystal structure. We also then can analyze the chemical composition to tell us something about what the magma experienced during its formation and cooling periods. All of these rocks will go to an archive at Oregon State University, and anybody who wants to work on these can put in a request to obtain a sample. Also, we will collect 2 biological samples, and Shirley's a whole lot better at telling you where those are going to go.
Actually, we have 2 different repositories for the biological samples. They're going to the Smithsonian, but then we're taking a subsample, a smaller piece, and preserving it for analyses of the DNA, and those are going to the Ocean Genome Legacy, OGL at Northeastern University. So, Patty, I was just looking at the temperature. What do we expect the temperature to be at these depths? Because we're seeing temperatures at 10 degrees C. Is that warmer than what we would expect to see?
Oh, yes, it is.
So what the heck does that mean?
What the heck does that mean? It means we've got warm rocks down there.
Yep.
You are good to go.
Okay.
Gotta love the warm rocks.
We are on the flank of an active volcano, and the normal seawater temperature in these kinds of depths could be maybe usually 3 degrees to 5 degrees, and our temperature is
It was about 10.
Okay.
Yeah, 10.
So it's possible that the heat from the magma chamber in this volcano is being conducted to this ridge, which is very close to the northern flank of the main volcanic edifice. So what happens is that if there are fractures at all in the body of the flanks of the volcano, seawater can kind of be drawn in, and like a chimney effect, it can be then expelled in the warmer regions closer to the summit of the volcano. So it looks like this might be not a hot spot really, but a warm spot.
Yeah, so Chris Kelly at the University of Hawaii said that at this depth, which is about, we're at 372 meters, that 10 degrees wouldn't be that unusual.
Okay, then forget everything I just said.
But that's okay. It's something to think about, though. It's something to think about as we continue to look.
Yeah, I wondered if maybe it might be up to 7 or so. But okay, thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
We'll save those comments for when we get to the hydrothermal system.
On the Post-it note in the parking lot.
Okay.
Over.
We'll write this down for further reference and put it on a Post-it card here and tape it to our screen.
It's a good story anyway, Patty. I enjoyed listening to it.
Thank you. Okay, so the pilot has the manipulator arm out there for reference for scale. The length from the wrist of the manipulator down to the tip of the fingers on it is maybe 9 or 10 inches or so. And the fingers are about 4 inches long. And what the pilots do is they kind of tap on the side of a sample they're thinking about picking up, just to make sure it's not, part of a mountain, because that's really hard to recover. So if they're loose, they'll wiggle a little bit when they're tapped. And then he can open the jaw and extend it over whatever it is he's trying to pick up and bring the sample back. Oh, that one moved a little. Woohoo!
Yeah. Bring the box in.
So just to let you know what these pilots can do, one of the things is that the manipulator on this remotely operated vehicle, we call it D2 or the ROV, the Deep Discoverer. Yep. And our pilots have tactile capability with this manipulator arm. In other words, as the pilot is moving something or picking a sample up, he can feel how much pressure is being exerted on that sample. So with a rock, it's not all that important to be delicate, but with some of the biological samples we may be taking, he can exert just enough pressure to be able to retrieve the sample from a biological organism without crushing it. He could pick up an egg.
Oh, we might have to test that.
Oh yeah? How are we going to do that?
I think there's going to be a test on the deck tonight.
Oh yeah?
Get a raw egg.
All right.
To see just how good these guys are.
Maybe we could get a hard-boiled one just to break them in.
No pun intended.
Oh, funny. You're bad.
So what you saw before was our pilot opened up the lid to the box in which he's going to place this rock after he's collected it. And he's really multitasking, too. So he's trying to keep the D2 in place. He's positioning where the manipulator arm can go.
And look at that.
He's closing the jaw.
And he's going
Oh,
for,
this is very cool.
They are loose.
Really cool.
Fantastic. And it has some of that pink stuff on it.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Boy, what better thing could you ask for? So one of our cameras, the one that usually shows the serious image, is now showing a different angle image on the sample that the pilot is attempting to pick up. And that's because you don't get the parallax view from looking at a flat screen. So it's as if you were trying to, well, imagine yourself looking at something in a mirror. You can't really tell where your fingers are. But the pilot will pick it up using both of these cameras, and then we'll take a good look at it and where it came from. And then he will be moving the arm over toward the box that had the lid. We'll get a good
nice close up.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
We got some of them, all right. There are also other little things on there, Shirley. They're waving about.
Focus is good.
The dark coating on this sample is not the fresh surface. It's a
So
very...
guys, I have a suggestion here.
Okay, suggestion coming in.
The suggestion is that this rock is small enough that maybe you could put it in a bio box.
Ah, a bio box?
Pilot, do you think it would be possible to put this in a bio box?
Just because it's small enough?
You'd have to lift off, probably.
Okay, roger that.
Nope.
So what will happen when this comes back up on the surface is we go and meet the ROV as soon as they tie everything down, and we go with buckets of water. So we'll pull this out and get it into a bucket of water, salt water, very quickly, so that it won't be exposed for too long. So a compromise.
Close. Bring the wing outboard.
Thank you, pilot.
I'm going to follow you with Minizos. Do we follow you?
That was truly
Right,
deftly
rotating
done.
towards you. Coming up. All stopped.
Sirius still looks good. No worries there.
Now we're sitting here for just a minute, in part for the pilot to be able to stow the manipulator arm, but also so that we can get a good look at the environment from which the sample was recovered, so that we have a sense of context. For geologists, that's pretty important. And most of the time, I prefer to get a rock that is what we call in place or in situ. That means that we know more or less what the sample came from in terms of both the geologic process and the structure that we got it from. In this case, this is a little mound on the top of a ridge on the flank of an active volcano.
You have it? Okay.
That's okay. This is fine. Thank you. Yeah, not a problem, because we'll be able to take advantage of the fact that we can pull that out pretty quickly from the rock box and put it into water. So it's not a big deal. Yep, be fine. Be fine.
Okay. So I think we can start moseying along
Yeah,
upslope.
that's how we left it.
And as we do that, there's some branches further
Measure
upslope
current.
that we'd like
Looks
to
like
get a
it's
closer
gone.
look at, please.
Actual current? You tell me.
That's
Correct.
right.